Welcome to the network, the educational podcast designed to help our community navigate the four areas of life that I like to call the funky four corners. I've had the opportunity to interview some of my favorite people with one goal in mind: to help the spiritual, physical, mental, and financial health of our people as we navigate this thing called life. Subscribe to the network. You never know, you might need it. You never know, you might need it. Listen, y'all, this is the network. Today's guest is a N.O. Jaguar, the proud father of the beautiful Blair Layla. He completed his undergrad at Southern University, Baton Rouge, and completed his doctoral studies at the Jackson State University. He is the owner-operator of Moments of Truth, LLC, where he is in private practice as a licensed clinical psychologist. He currently serves as an associate professor and department head of the Department of Psychology at XULA. Ladies and gentlemen, I need y'all to welcome Dr. Brian Turner. BT, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, Mike. I'm good, man. Thank you for bringing me back, my guys. Perfect timing. The semester is over. I'm getting into this relaxed state of mind. So definitely, bro, I'm going to be happy to share with you and enjoy it. And hopefully we give the people what they want.
Yeah, man. I see you got your smoke there. You sipping on something?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I see you, man. I see you. I'm slowly becoming a connoisseur of the tequilas. So I went and bought me. It's not a commercial. So I went and bought me a new bottle. Went and bought me a new bottle the other night. See, I got my little glass there, man.
Yeah.
Man. So we're gonna have a good time tonight. Listen, everybody, welcome to the network. This is the educational podcast designed to help our community navigate the four areas of life that we like to call the funky four corners. I've had the opportunity to interview some of my favorite people, and I'm bringing one of my favorite people back tonight. We got one goal in mind, y'all. That's to help the spiritual, physical, mental, and financial health of our people as we navigate this thing called life. Listen, y'all, subscribe to the network. You never know, you might need it. Right now, we are live on YouTube. We are also live on the gram. So, man, y'all go and tell somebody that we out here. We out here tonight. I got the good doctor, man.
Yeah.
I got the good doctor. So I want to ask you this. First thing I want to ask you, man, have you paid any attention to the Drake and Kendrick Lamar feud?
Yes and no. I thought in a very real way that it was going to elevate the craft of hip hop. I thought it was going to take us back. And as soon as I saw it go the way of the dodo bird, I stopped paying attention. It's leading us back to extinction, bro. So yes, I took a listen, and I just didn't find it worth engaging, man. And we'll probably get into what that means. And what I'll preface that with is I've never watched Straight Outta Compton. And when asked why, I say because we lived it. And while the story itself is worth being told, I don't need to see it again because I saw the effects of what NWA and gangster rap did. And so while I can appreciate the story being told, I don't need to see the movie. So that's why I kind of put that, man. I'm on some other stuff right now about what we need to be doing in our communities, and that just doesn't help me. So hats off to Drake, Kendrick, but I think J. Cole did it best. He got out of it.
That's it. I was gonna say the same thing. So hats off to those brothers, but salute to J. Cole. You have to be in a different mind frame to understand what J. Cole did from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were going at J. Cole's neck or talking about him, when he decided to step away, you wanted to see the gladiators in the arena because you love bloodshed.
Come on.
I don't know. That's the That's the way I looked at it, man. That's the way I looked at it. Listen,
There was no sport in
in
it.
right.
There was no sport in it. It wasn't like back in the day with Cool Mo D and LL Cool J. It was no sport in it when cats could stand on stage and you could be elevated by the lyrical content and the subject matter with which Public Enemy and Dies Effect and Talib Kweli and Poor Righteous Teachers that brought us to a point of elevation. So I couldn't participate, brother.
Man, you said things that bring us to the point of elevation. And one of the issues, man, is that a lot of what's being put out today is not elevating us. It's not elevating the listener. Let me just go ahead and put it in a broad spectrum.
Come
And
on.
let's just say, man, it's not elevating the listener, because I can go back to, growing up, just think about songs like The Message,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then Poor Righteous Teachers, right? And even PRT made songs like Butt Naked Booty Bless,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that was more a sign of being young and adolescence,
Yeah. Yeah.
where the rest of the music had uplift. Listen, to this day, BT, to this day, one of my favorite lyrics is from Ed OG, and the Bulldogs. Be a father. If not, why bother, son? A boy can make them, but only a man can raise one. If you did it, admit it and stick with it. Don't say it's not yours, because all women are not whores. Man, that right there, that's uplift. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? The storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even as the music evolved, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you haven't seen Straight Outta Compton because you lived it, right? So we lived through the evolution of the music, right? So when it went from storytelling, about Mackin and where we grew up and,
Yeah.
to the storytelling about the guns and the drugs and the violence, but it has even evolved further, to where we're like, man, and this is not the oppression Olympics. We're not trying to compare, which one was worst. However, and let me say, and the music morphed again
Yep.
from drug selling to drug using to
Yep.
the point that we have young artists dying from the impact and effects of drug use.
Yep.
That's wild, man. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once again, the conceptualization of the fact of the matter is the question is, does life imitate art? Does art imitate life? And so right now, I think that's one of the constructs that we're dealing with, man. So look, man, we can run that all day and night, bro. So where we going tonight? Where we going tonight, man?
All right, man. This is where we're going. So May happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes, sir.
right? So, man, I was doing a little homework, doing a little research, right? So I was
Mm-hmm.
on the website just looking through some things. And the first part of May, the first 4 days of May, the focus was on mental health and older adults, saying, it's never too late to get help. It's never too late to get help. So what are your thoughts on that? And then for those of us, because man, we are in we have moved out of that 35 to 44 demographic,
Yep.
right? To that 45 to 54 demographic, right? So
Yep.
it's never too late to get treatment. And also, man, talk about that. But then for those people who decide, nah, I'm not doing that, can you talk about the danger of untreated illness?
Oh man, that's dope, brother. That's dope. So yes, May is our time where we highlight and address mental health awareness, and we elevate that word once again to our very real consciousness. How do we take care of our mental, right? And so, Mike, I think we're in the same boat. We are at the point where we're beginning to have some of those persons who shaped us and guided us and directed us in our lives. They've passed and they're beginning to see the spotlight of their lives. So one of the realest things I see now is that these older adults who used to be our heroes and sheroes and our protectors and our, guides, they now need us. And what I see that is becoming so real when we look at the field of gerontology in terms of mental health is that that's a huge blow to most people. To go from being Superman, Superwoman to now you can't just get up and go and roll like you want. And so the reality is that we need people, regardless of age, to be taking care of themselves as they evolve, as they experience these developmental changes. See, a lot of times we think developmental changes only occur in adolescents and teenagers, right? That you start to get to hormones. You know what they used to say, you're starting to smell yourself, right?
Yeah.
Starting to think, man, got a little peach fuzz on his chin, right? Well, the question I often ask is for those persons who got older, what do you do when your children leave the house? What do you do when you can't just get up and roll like you want to, right? What happens when you find yourself, which is personal for me with my mother. She's getting a little older. She gets frustrated when she can't be as quick with some of her cognitive functions. I say, Mom, just take a second, right? It's like you're not forgetting. You just got a lot going on. But if you start to feel the emotional and psychological wherewithal of such, a person is then going to simply feed that monster of, see, I'm forgetting something. See, I can't do something. So now it becomes the kind of anxiety-driven position of, I'm now worried that I'm not being able to do what I need to do. Versus, you know what, let me take a minute, right? And Mike, I think if anybody who's listening understands this, we've all walked into the kitchen and completely forgotten what we went into the kitchen for.
Right.
That is just something that happens, right? Now, if you start worrying about, well, when I go in the kitchen, am I going to forget what I was looking for? Well, now you've already begun anticipatory anxiety that's going to drive you even more up the wall. So what I think about, and this is for persons who definitely have older person in their lives, we have to be sensitive and we have to be supportive to our elders as they begin to grow into the twilight of their lives, and make sure that we're not putting them in a position where they experience greater angst about getting older, right? And so if you look back across some cultures, and if you think about it, this might be one of the cultural kind of the dynamics, right? And that in America, we don't really show a lot of value for older individuals. Once you're no longer able to work, once you're no longer able to work, once you no longer have what people might determine a value to us, you don't have much value. I mean, that's the whole point of why they want to keep raising the age of Social Security. That's why they want to keep devaluing individuals as they get older, because we don't think of people as having value. But the greatest connection that we see people being able to strive from is their connection to elders. So our younger kids, right, our people, my daughter, I see her bringing life to my mother when they're together. My daughter brings light to elders when she's around them. It's like they're connecting on a level that I can't do. And so now to tie that into what you said about anybody, especially, and I'm gonna say this especially because this is the digital green book, right? So when we talk about African Americans and the lives we live, we cannot forget that America is still a place where we have to be on our toes. We have to be consciously aware, because some of us have slipped into these subconscious places where race and ethnicity are secondary in how we move, and it's not until it's too late and it's all up on top of us. And what I'm thinking about is the young man who was killed the other day by the police in his own home because the police were knocking at the wrong door. And while I do support the nature and the notion that young man had a right to be afraid and had a weapon on him, I believe. And I don't have all the facts, but I think I'm going to get the bareness of it, right? He felt threatened in his own home and he had a weapon, but he also put his hands up when he realized it was the police and he was still shot. See, there's still spaces where we have to remember that is also part of our actual genetic makeup, that we know that we have been treated differently because of our race and ethnicity. So as a 46-year-old black man in America, Mike, and I know you might still feel this because most of us do. When the people behind me, I still get a little heart palpitation. Right?
Oh, definitely.
I still wonder. And I don't have no dope in the car. I ain't riding dirty. I mean, I'm legal. I'm a legal beagle. Everything is up to date and straight. But when they get behind me, man, I still had a little heart palpitation. Like, what if they decide to mess with me? And so that's my example for why we have to stay mentally tough and mentally prepared for these moments, not because you've done anything wrong, not because you're less than, but because things like health, as my mentor, Dr. Joe White, would say, we have to have a healthy paranoia of the world we live in because of how it has treated us and our elders. We have to remember that there is this thing called imposter syndrome, where we may, even when we are the top dog in the room, we have to wonder if we're simply there for the dog and pony show. And we still have to wonder, when we look at the politics around us, Donald Trump, there's no way a man of color would have been able to do what he's done. I look at the governor of Louisiana, I look at the governor of Texas, I look at the governor of Florida, the games that they're playing with people, right?
With people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
We gotta support each other, bro. We cannot forget this.
I tell you, just when I tell you, man, I put my blinker on, just because I served on a jury where they were looking for a reason to stop the defendant in this case, right? They were looking, they were already suspicious about something, and they were just looking for a reason to stop them. And they got in the turning lane to turn right, but didn't put their blinker on. And that was enough for them to stop the defendant in that case. Man, when I tell you I'm a blinker busting dude, listen, boy, I put my blinker on to turn in my driveway. I'm turning into my house, I put my blinker on.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
just because, and I went to jury duty this past week, and they're asking me questions, and they ask about jury duty is important. Jury duty is important. And they're asking questions about experience. Have you had a negative experience with law enforcement? And I had to say, listen, I've had negative experiences, that go, listen, man, I have been pulled out of a car at gunpoint. Me and my line brother, surrounded by police officers, get out of the car at gunpoint. Don't stop the car. We don't even have a chance to stop the car. So my line brother is pulled out. I'm sorry, he was pulled out. I'm sitting there like this.
Yep.
Afraid to put my hands down. But the car is still in gear. So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going to die tonight, because either I'm going to put my hands down to stop this car.
Yep.
Or this car is going to keep moving, and they're going to look at that as a threat.
Yep.
And they're going to fill this thing with hot lead. In that time that I'm having that thought, another officer pulls up and says, "It's not them. Let's go." And they were gone just that quick.
Just like that. Yep.
Man, I have sat in the back of the paddy wagon all night long for suspicion of DUI, only to blow into the machine a 0.000000000.
Yeah.
So that's kind of on a tangent, but we have to. Let me ask you this: with all of that in mind, as we are entering our middle age years and our parents are entering their twilight years, we have to deal with all that. How do we prepare ourselves to take care of our parents? What does that look like?
First off, it's going to take some real conversations. And when I say real, that means we're going to have to sit down and talk everything: money, burial, property, wishes, last thoughts, and I think as you pose that question, I think historically, Mike, we as a people within the Black community have not historically been in the position to be able to plan for much of this. And so what I find is that it's in those moments that we find most distressing, when the reality of like the mental health space is that when you prepare for stressful moments, we know this from playing sports, right? You practice so that when you're in a stressful moment, you allow what you've practiced to take over. You allow the repetitive nature of practice. So we need to actually have these conversations and prepare people for this, right? So I've worked with clients, and when there's been some terminal issues, right, or some fatal issues, right, what I used to ask is, well, what conversations did you all have about death? Usually there was no conversation. Usually people say, well, I just didn't think it was going to happen like this. Well, grandma was 80 years old, baby. Like she wasn't no spring chicken, or like this is maybe the second or third round of like cancer, right? So at some point, we can't wait till something bad is upon us to now want to prepare, because now we're in the midst of the battle. And so having the conversations, right, of preparing myself, and having begun to prepare a written will, those types of things, so that my daughter and my family won't have to guess about what's going on, right? We shouldn't have to, and we should not want to put our families in dire straits in those moments, because the other thing, Mike, that this brings up is, who's going to make these decisions, right? Who's going to be the one to decide the DNR, do not resuscitate? Who's going to be the one who gets power of attorney, right? You can do advanced directives at any age. You can say, hey, I want it to be known that if I am in such a condition, and if this much time has passed, I want this to no longer go on. I want you to cease, attempts to resuscitate me. I want you to cease artificial, or machined support for my life, right? I.e., take me off of life support, because one, we've seen what happens when people are extended life support and what it does to the family. Also, we look at what happens just financially, right? It becomes a drain on individuals. And so those are all of the things that can create the psychological like pressures, right? That's the stuff that creates this crushing weight of living, that now the persons who are going to survive, or the persons who have to make decisions, are now experiencing turmoil. So what I would say is, definitely, like, sit down with your family and plan what you want to have happen. If my demise comes too soon, or sooner than I would like, which is normal for me, right? I don't want to die at this point. I'm realizing I got some stuff I want to do, Mike. I want to try. I want to hit Africa again, right? I want to go to South Africa. I want to go to Egypt, right? I will say that because that's a part of that thing, right? I mean, when my brother passed in 2015, he shared a number of his regrets in life, and I don't want that. And I don't want anybody to have that experience. I want people to plan so that they can have those things in life that they want, and then they can do what they need to do for their families to reduce the amount of stress that they experience.
Yeah, as you were talking, I started thinking about, emergency funds, right? So you should have an economic emergency fund. So when that thing happens, when the rainy day comes, you are prepared for the rainy day. Well, listen, y'all, death is the one appointment that everybody is going to make. So why are we as a community not better prepared for death? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I know everybody doesn't have the means, but if we have the opportunity to plan properly and prepare, we shouldn't have to sell as many fish plates. We shouldn't have to sell as many T-shirts with your picture on it. BT, that's good stuff.
We shouldn't have to do GoFundMes. We shouldn't have to do crowdsourcing. And not that those are bad. That's not inherently bad. But we should be planning so that those things, and here's the key, so that it's not stressful, right? Because it ain't cheap to die, right? It ain't cheap to die, right? My understanding is it almost costs as much to leave here as it did to get here. Hey, so think about is that, how do we reduce that stress? And so, to your point, Mike, what I also think about is something that I think about when I usually see families or a child and parent dyad is, can we have real conversations with our kids about life, right? My daughter recently in first grade has been learning about bullying, and I really appreciate her school. Shout out to St. Little Great Catholic School here in New Orleans, who what they have done is brought in a very effective approach to addressing bullying, right? And so they really get involved with understanding that bullying is not something that we're going to be okay with. We're not going to accept it. And really the opportunity is there for us to take care of each other. And so what I think about is how, and Mike, I know we know this because we was growing up and we had the fight or get it in because somebody's going to make fun of you. Somebody's going to talk about you, right? And I say that because, yeah. And I say that because if you think back in a lot of ways across communities, regardless of race, ethnicity, color, or economic status, if we create a culture that does not accept such things, right? Imagine the reduction in terms of the overall distress that people feel, right? And if you think about it, we're all going to feel some type of stress or distressing things, right? A test, right? We just finished up the semester in the school year, so to speak. So students are going to feel the stress when they have to take a test. They're going to feel that stress when they have to make a college. They're going to feel that stress when they're preparing for a game or during the game and it's a tight game. Well, if we actually do better at teaching our kids how to deal with stressful situations, how to problem solve, how to use conflict resolution, imagine how much better they will be at these things when we're not around. We were just talking about this with some partners in the gym. One of the things we talk about doing to our kids now is talking them through how to make decisions so that when we're not around, when we're not there, maybe what we did in preparation will stick with them, right?
That's good, because if you train a child up in the way that they should go, when they're old, they will not depart. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's ancient wisdom right there. BT, let's do this, man. You're spilling a lot of good stuff. Where can people find you if they need to follow somebody with the type of wisdom that you have?
Yeah. So I'm easy to find. I'm not on papers. I have no priors. I'm legal. So you could just search my name, Brian L. Turner. There's another Brian Turner, white guy. He does good work, but he's not me. So you can find me on not all social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can use my name, Brian Turner. You can also look me up at Xavier University of Louisiana, Brian Turner, the psych department. My website is www.drturnerspeaks.wordpress.com. You can email me at Dr. Turner, drturner504 @gmail.com.
All right. Let me see if I can I'm going to drop some of this on the screen over here. All right. So hold on. That's not right. It's not NO Jaguar. It's NO.
With that 504, baby.
With that 504. Yeah. Let me get that right. Let me get that right. All right. So y'all can find the good brother. And I'm telling you right now, man, y'all need to go find him. You need to go find him, and he can refer you to somebody. Or if you don't want to find him, go find somebody, because we started talking about the month of May, right? The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as we're talking about that, the beginning of the month of May was older adults. So we started talking about taking care of our elders. We want to do a better job of that. So we have to do a better job of planning. So because this podcast is an educational podcast, I'm going to make sure that I bring on someone who is going to give us that information and give us direction on exactly what we need to do, right? And then if you don't think you can handle these conversations, you have to prepare yourself to handle these conversations. You may need to talk to somebody. Your entire family may need to talk to somebody, because we need to be prepared. Okay, yeah. BT. The next, we won't get through all of these, but children and teens, right? So May 5th through 11th, right, who just passed away, dealt with focusing on children and teens. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of Black mamas and daddies sometimes look at their babies and be like, there's something wrong with that boy. But what if there is actually something there? Yeah. Now what? Now what do we do as parents of children who may be suffering from some type of mental health crisis, or they don't know how to navigate that decision-making process, and it's making them super anxious, and now it's manifesting. As parents,
so my joke, Mike,
how do we do that?
So my joke, Mike, is when my students come into Xavier, they say, Dr. Turner, I want to be a clinical child psychologist. I want to be a pediatric psychologist. I said, that's fine. I said, so what you going to do? I'm going to help kids. I'm going to fix kids. I said, well, who do you think usually causes most of the distress in kids? They say parents. I said, right. I said, so
adults.
So you got to figure out a way to get parents in the room and get them on board to make some changes, right? And so two things I would say. One, we have to understand that our children are not little humans, right? They're not little adults. Let me say that, little adults. They are children. They have yet to develop the wherewithal and the skill set to be able or be capable of dealing with the world throws at them every day. And why do we know that? Because we know that the adolescent mind does not even remotely become somewhat completely developed until about the age of 25. There was a statistic thrown out at one point in time that said the human brain is 90% developed by the age of 5. That's a little misleading. The human brain is 90% the size with which it's supposed to be by the age of 5. Okay. That's not fully developed, right? That's not, because think about it. You ain't seen nothing by the age of 5. You ain't even been to school yet. So it's
got the capacity. It's got the volume
there you go.
To hold the potential neural networks.
There you go, right? So what we have to do, and this is a challenge, and I was in a meeting the other day, Mike, and I told this group that I am now a proponent for year-round school. What we found during the pandemic was that we had such great loss of learning, right, during that time period, because we were not activating the neuronal connections as we once did. And now, if you think about it, because of the way school systems work, and I'm actually calling for, if I could, and I'm not in K through 12 education, right? So in higher education, we have a little bit more freedom to press the issue and to move things a little bit differently, right? But K through 12, if we're honest, has been the exact same model for well over 150 years.
Let me jump in. The pandemic gave us the opportunity to change the model. And no one, and I mean no one, took advantage of the opportunity to change the model. Technology, this is related. Technology moves light years faster than the decision makers in the educational field.
Right.
We are still just, man, we're teaching to the tests.
Yep.
We're not teaching kids how to think critically because we're so worried about test scores and test results that we're failing. We are, and I'm somebody who's in the public school. Okay, I'll say that.
Yeah.
I am in K through 12 public education.
Yeah.
Okay. And year-round school, it's not a bad idea. I would love to see us go to quarters.
Yeah.
Let's break this year into 4 quarters. We'll get our breaks in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But make sure the funding is there. Whoever you are, who is in charge of funding, make sure the funding is there.
Yep.
Right. And then let's get this thing right, man. Let's get these kids together.
Yeah.
Because if we're in the profession, we owe it to the children.
And Mike, here's the thing about the funding, right? Here's the economics of it. So one, if we're better educating our kids, we're going to see reductions in crime. We're going to see reduction in negative outcomes for kids. We're going to see increases in positive outcomes in terms of which most of us talk about is like pursuit of college, higher education. But if not college or higher education, we will see increases in just the pure educational attainment and knowledge base of the everyday citizenry, right? Which that was actually the initial goal of public education. The whole goal was to increase the fact that the everyday child was not getting an educational package that they could use to go forward. So if we rethink this thing, like you said, which quarters, however you want to do it, because you can still have a 4 or 5 week summer break, You can still have 2-week breaks in between, but you do it to the point where, one, it helps out the family, right? So we now know that we have larger numbers of single parent headed households where they have multiple kids. So I know during the pandemic, especially in New Orleans, what we was having was you had a parent who may have had 2 or 3 kids in the house on several different networks, and some of them had school in the morning, some had school in the afternoon, some just self-paced. Well, if you have a parent who's trying to just make it every day, that's not something that they not, because they're not an educator. So we have to rethink this thing. And so now I'm gonna bring it to the point is that if we rethink the model by which we're doing this, we're going to be able to vastly improve the outcome of public education. And if we vastly improve the outcomes of public education, think right now, you now have people who are better able to take care of themselves, first and foremost, right? That's what I tell my students. And you said something, I'm going to add to what you said critically. I want my students to think critically, analytically, and independently, right? If you can do those 3 things, that means you can solve problems with novel solutions that may have never been seen before, right? So if we do that, we're going to help the family out, because now mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, whoever's taking care of kids, now we've reduced some of the stress on them for that summertime care. Like even, and I think I do okay for myself, right? My daughter will be in camp during the month of June. I'm teaching, but I'm teaching online, so that'll be a little easier. But in the month of July, I'm teaching a course in the morning time, but she won't be in anything. So I have the means to take her with me because of my profession. She can come and sit in class during that time, or park her by my mom for a little while, right? Or she has other family members that she can go to. Everybody doesn't have that. So we reduce that stress on the family to try to find childcare. And then I don't know about you, man, but summer camps, I remember summer camps, all you had to do was sign up for. Now summer camps on a couple $1,000, baby.
So we can go, I'm a history teacher, so we can go back to the Bush administration, the second Bush administration. That is when they cut the funding for all of these types of programs.
Come on.
Right. So there's a long game. I gotta bring on a political strategist. There's a long game being played that I'm gonna just be honest, I don't know all the details. Right. But when we start talking about where the funding is being cut from, Louisiana has already done it, where y'all have the vouchers. Well, I can tell you right now, we're cutting positions right now in the state of Texas, when last year they told us we had a 55 billion or million surplus. So how do we go from a surplus to now we don't have enough money? There's a somebody playing with the money. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, they're not playing, they straight taking it, Mike. And here's the reality, what you just said about Louisiana, right? They've created a program where they're going to give money to folks who are already wealthy, who just don't want to have to pay for school. So instead of paying for private school or parochial schools, they're just going to get the vouchers. And why? Because they have the means, right? And the access. And so even myself, and I love my principal. She called me today, and she called me and said, well, hey, Mr. Turner, I was just calling you. I wanted to let you know that there's a voucher program that I think you may be eligible for, but, and I'm not going to say numbers, but she said, I don't think you're eligible for it, but if you make more than $65,000, then, I said, thanks for the phone call, but I don't need to do that application, right? Now, the crazy part is, it says 65 as the max, right? But there were some other criteria that she said I met. So how do I fit into this very tight window that I would be eligible for this voucher, right? So I don't fit. Now somebody somewhere is going to be able to play a game on their taxes to get down to that 65.
There it is.
Somebody's going to be able to show that they don't have an income. They get all of their income or their money via capital gains, or it's all under a business act. And I've been talking to my CPA so that I can somehow find a way to be eligible for such. Now, look, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I had a fraternity brother who made the point the other day. We were talking. He said, look, man, I cannot continue to fund the U.S. government by myself. He was like, so I have to find a way to get my tax liability as low as possible. So I'm thinking about a different vehicle. If you buy a 6,500 pound vehicle, complete tax write-off, right? Now, my little F-150 ain't but about 3,800 pounds. So I got to figure something out, right? My little car, it's about 4,500 pounds. It ain't 6,500. Now, they're both paid for, But the reality is, if I go ahead and look at that vehicle, I get a complete tax write-off. I get to reduce my income, and I get to say maybe I could get that voucher, right? So then that means, and this is the reality of the other part about why I remind people of the shell game that's being played on our community. And this is going to touch on something a little different, but the reality of it is that's why politically the Black community is once so active, because we understood that these games was being played at a level where it was completely cutting us out. And so I'm gonna tie this into the mental health piece once again, is that we have to be honest, Mike, and this is what I think you're getting at, that there are factors that impact our wellness that we don't even know about. And when it comes to our kids, we as parents, we're supposed to sacrifice for our kids. The Maasai warriors have a saying, "Kasi anengera." It means, how are the kids? And see, they would ask people, they would ask the tribesmen and women, how are the kids? Because a very simple process, a very simple principle. If the kids are not well, how can we be well?
That's good. That's good. What is that phrase again? Say that phrase again.
It's the translation is literally, how are the kids? How are the children? The statement or the pronunciation is Kassieren Ingera, Kassieraningera. But the Maasai warriors, Massia. It's a group of tribesmen, which actually the very interesting part, funny point about this tribe in Africa was that they were really well known as farmers, but they're also known to be genetically the tallest people tribally in the world, right? Tall guys, tall women. Mm-hmm. They also tend to have a reddish hue to their skin tone, but they were farmers, but they are fierce warriors. And they say, and a part of it is their desire to be such fierce warriors was to protect the kids, to protect the children. And so when you think about it, my challenge to our community now is oftentimes, what are we doing to take care of the kids? What are we doing to protect our children?
BT, that's good, man. BT, that's good, man. That's good. How are the kids? How are the kids? Y'all, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to our children. We have a responsibility to our children. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. All right, y'all, listen, before we go to the next segment, I need you to like, subscribe, sign up for notifications if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to this by podcast, be sure to go to iTunes. If you're listening on Apple, give us a 5-star rating. Then I need you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. All right, BT, we're going to transition right here, man. We're going to go ahead and transition. We're going to play a little game. We're going to play a little game. All right, you ready for this?
Let's go.
All right, so I got this wheel, man. I'm gonna put this wheel up here. I'm gonna spin this wheel, and whatever this wheel comes on, man, we're just gonna play the game. I got 4 different games. We got the sentence stem showdown. We got who said that. That's where you guess the quote. All right. We got the word association game, and then we have would you rather. Would you rather? All right. So let me go ahead and let me see if I can get my wheel up on the screen. And then we're going to spin this wheel and we're going to see what's going on over here. Let's see. All right. We're going to share our wheel. Hopefully we don't run into any technical difficulties. All right. There's our wheel. Let's spin our wheel, man. Let's see what we come up on.
Big money, big money, big money.
No whammies, no whammies. All right, BT. We're going word association, man. We're going word association.
Oh yeah. That's what I was feeling.
Word association. All right, man. So I'm excited about this, bro. BT, man, you've been in here cooking with hot grease tonight.
Let's make it hot.
How are the kids? All right, here we go. So I'm gonna give you words from 4 different categories: spiritual, physical, mental, and financial. I'm gonna give you a word, and then you give me word association. All right, here we go. You ready? Serenity.
Oh man, my mother.
Adversity.
I don't experience adversity.
Oh, that's what's up. That's a blessing. Man, that's a blessing. Growth.
Expected.
Service.
A joy.
All right, so those were spiritual. Now let's go to physical. Movement.
Urgency.
Sleep.
Repeat that. I couldn't hear you.
Sleep.
Peace.
Worry.
Prayer.
Temple.
My home.
That's what's up. All right, that was spiritual and physical. Now we go into mental. Here we go. Curiosity.
Hunger.
Reframing.
Thoughtfulness.
Expression.
Engagement.
And positivity.
Friendship.
Excellent. All right, now we're going to move to financial. Here we go. Budget.
I wish. Oh, no. Necessary.
All right. Burden.
Debt. DEBT.
Okay. Investment.
Willful.
All right. And then the last one right here. Millionaire.
Soon.
There it is. Y'all, that was the Funky Four word association game. That's good stuff. All right, BT. We are now in the segment we like to call good medicine. So I need you to prescribe some good medicine. It could be a book, a song, an album, a podcast, a movie, a documentary, an app, some art, a support group, activity, practice. It can be whatever it is that has been life-changing for you. What good medicine would you like to subscribe to our audience?
I encourage people to read Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s book, Where Do We Go From Here? If you have not read it, I think it's a treatise on what we should be doing in our community, how we should be living.
That's good, man. That's good medicine. Dr. King's book, Where Do We Go From Here? Did I get it right?
Yes, sir.
That's good stuff. All right, BT, man, we are down to the end of this episode, man. So this last segment is called You Didn't Ask. This is my favorite of the episode. This is one piece of unsolicited advice that nobody asked for, but you're going to give it to us anyway. What do you have for You Didn't Ask?
Brother, first off, let me go ahead and tell you, man, I once again appreciate this opportunity. I think you're doing great work, bro. This is the work we should be doing as people. This is what, in many ways, will be the dichotomy of thought that we need to engage in individually, collectively, and holistically. So my unsolicited advice is that we have got to re-engage in altruism. The ideal that we can help people without an expectation of something in return. I have consistently been blessed by the spirit of altruism that I try to, right? And I say try because there are times where, our people and anybody can bring the devil out of us. And so I force myself to remind the life I live, right? And I say that way. I force myself to remind the life I live that I shall not benefit off of anybody else's demise. But however,
amen,
I find that whenever I put out good energy, good vibes, love, it always comes back to me. And what I think about the most is I look at my daughter when she's sleeping at night, right? And I think for any parent, take that moment, watch your child sleep, and you'll understand what I'm about to say. I may not ever sit under the shade of the trees that I plant today, but my child shall. So I try to ensure that I am planting opportunities for others to see my daughter one day and say, hey, that is Brian Turner's daughter. That is Dr. Turner's daughter. You know what? He did something for me at a time I couldn't do for myself. I'm going to repay it to her because I can never repay him. And so altruism, I encourage, I implore people to engage in altruism. Do something for others with no expectation of anything in return, and watch what happens.
Y'all heard the man. Give without the expectation of getting something in return. Listen, y'all, that's a wrap. So what I need y'all to do is follow the network with Michael Prejean on Instagram, Facebook. All right. We are _network_podcast on Instagram, the network with Michael Prejean on Instagram. Always check the show notes for that good medicine and the advice you didn't ask for, but we gave it to you anyway. Give. Don't expect anything in return. Listen, man, this is the network. We are the educational podcast designed to help the physical, mental, spiritual, and financial health of our people as we navigate this thing called life. Subscribe to the network, y'all. You never know. You may need it. Signing off for the good doctor, Brian Turner, NO Jaguar 504. My name is Michael Prejean. I'm your host of the network podcast. Until next time, BT's coming back, y'all. BT's coming back. So until next time, y'all, I need y'all to make love the culture. Peace.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Appreciate it.